The sun dipped low on the horizon, casting a golden glow over the house as Sarah tidied up the living room. At 26, she had recently married into a family that felt like home, especially since her father-in-law, David, had been nothing but kind and welcoming. He was in his early 50s, handsome, and still carried an air of vitality that drew people to him. With her husband out of town for the weekend, Sarah found herself alone with David. They had always shared a comfortable rapport, filled with laughter and easy conversations, but there was an unspoken tension simmering beneath the surface that neither had acknowledged. As Sarah finished her chores, she caught sight of David out on the patio, a glass of lemonade in hand. She decided to join him, feeling a mix of anticipation and nervousness. "Hey, David. Mind if I join you?" she called out, stepping outside. "Not at all, Sarah. Please, have a seat," he replied, gesturing to the empty chair beside him. As she settled in, Sarah felt the warmth of the evening air wrap around them. They chatted about trivial things, work, family, and their favorite shows, yet the energy between them felt different. There was an undeniable chemistry, an attraction that neither of them could ignore. After a while, David leaned back in his chair, glancing over at Sarah with a thoughtful expression. "You know, you've really become part of this family. I'm grateful for that." "Thank you, David." "That means a lot," Sarah replied, her heart racing as their eyes locked for a moment longer than usual. "Sometimes, it's hard to believe how quickly time flies. It feels like just yesterday you were starting out in this family," he said, a soft smile on his lips. As the evening progressed, the sun sank lower, and the sky turned into a canvas of pink and orange. Sarah felt a flutter in her stomach, and she shifted slightly in her chair, trying to ignore the magnetic pull she felt towards him. "Would you like some more lemonade?" David asked, standing up. "I can get us some from the kitchen." "Sure, that would be great," she replied, trying to shake off the feeling of anticipation that hung in the air. While he was inside, Sarah took a moment to collect her thoughts. She couldn't deny that there was something about David that attracted her, the way he carried himself, his kindness, and the way he made her feel comfortable yet excited. When David returned, he handed her a glass, their fingers brushing against each other for a moment. The contact sent a jolt through Sarah, and she quickly averted her gaze, her heart racing. "Let's move inside. It's getting a bit chilly," David suggested, his voice steady despite the tension between them. As they entered the house, Sarah felt the atmosphere shift, the closeness of their bodies almost palpable. They settled on the couch, and for a moment, they sat in silence, the soft glow of the lamp casting warm shadows around them. "Sarah," David said softly, breaking the silence. "Can I be honest with you?" "Of course," she replied, her heart pounding as she sensed where this conversation might lead. "I've been feeling something between us. Something I can't quite explain," he confessed, his gaze intense. Sarah's breath hitched in her throat. "I've felt it too," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "But I didn't know how to address it." David leaned closer, his eyes searching hers. "I don't want to make things awkward, but I can't ignore this connection anymore." Her heart raced as she met his gaze. "I don't want to ignore it either," she said, her voice trembling with excitement and fear. In that moment, the air between them shifted, and David reached out, gently tucking a strand of hair behind Sarah's ear. The simple touch sent shivers down her spine, and she leaned into his hand, feeling a surge of desire. "Can I kiss you?" he asked, his voice low and husky. "Yes," she breathed, unable to contain her longing any longer. With that, David closed the distance, capturing her lips with his. The kiss was tender at first, exploring the sweetness of the moment, but it quickly grew deeper and more passionate. Sarah melted against him, her hands finding their way to his shoulders, pulling him closer as their bodies entwined. As they kissed, David's hands slid down her back, pulling her against him. The warmth of his body sent waves of desire coursing through her, and she couldn't help but respond, pressing her body against his. "Sarah," he murmured between kisses, his voice thick with desire. "You're incredible." She smiled against his lips, feeling a rush of happiness at his words. "So are you," she replied, her heart racing as she let her hands explore the contours of his body, feeling the strength beneath his shirt. David's hands traveled lower, caressing her waist and thighs, igniting a fire within her. She gasped softly at his touch, feeling the thrill of his fingers grazing her skin, sending shivers of pleasure through her. "Is this okay?" he asked, his breath warm against her neck as he kissed a trail along her collarbone. "Yes, please," Sarah whispered, lost in the sensations he was creating. With that, he continued to explore her body, his hands gliding along her thighs and up her sides, igniting a rush of heat between them. Sarah leaned back against the couch, giving him more access as she reveled in the pleasure of his touch. As their kisses grew more urgent, Sarah wrapped her legs around his waist, pulling him closer, feeling the heat radiating from him. David's hands moved to her back, fingers tracing her spine, igniting sparks of desire with every touch. "I've wanted this for so long," he admitted, his voice low and filled with longing. "Me too," she replied breathlessly, feeling emboldened by their shared desire. Their kisses became more heated, and Sarah could feel the world around them fading away, leaving only the two of them entwined in their own passion. David's hands explored her curves, tracing the outline of her body, sending waves of pleasure coursing through her. "Sarah," he murmured, pulling away slightly to look into her eyes. "I want to take this further, but I want to make sure you're ready." "I am," she replied, her voice steady and filled with determination. "I want this, us." With that, David captured her lips again, kissing her deeply as he pressed her back against the couch. Their bodies moved in perfect harmony, exploring the depths of their connection and the love that was blossoming between them. As the night wore on, they lost themselves in each other, savoring every kiss, every touch, and every moment of intimacy. The bond they were creating was more than just physical, it was a profound connection that would forever change their lives. Sarah knew this was only the beginning of their journey together, and she was ready to embrace every moment, every touch, and every kiss that awaited them. As the evening unfolded, Sarah and David found themselves lost in a world of their own, every kiss and caress deepening their connection. The soft glow of the lamp illuminated their faces, highlighting the intensity of their emotions. David's hands roamed over Sarah's back, pulling her closer as he kissed her deeply. She melted into him, feeling the warmth of his body radiating against hers. Their kisses became more passionate, each one igniting a fire within them that was impossible to extinguish. "Sarah," David whispered, pulling away for just a moment to gaze into her eyes. "You have no idea how long I've wanted this." "I think I have an idea," she replied, a playful smile on her lips as she leaned in to kiss him again. As their lips met, Sarah felt a rush of desire that took her breath away. She entwined her fingers in his hair, feeling the strength of his arms around her. David's hands moved to her waist, gripping her tightly as he pulled her closer, their bodies fitting perfectly together. The kisses deepened as Sarah let her hands explore his chest, feeling the muscles beneath his shirt. She savored the warmth of his skin, the way he responded to her touch, and the growing need that pulsed between them. "Let me show you how much I care about you," David murmured, his breath warm against her ear as he trailed kisses along her neck. Mia shivered at the sensation, her heart racing. "I want that too," she whispered, feeling bold and excited. With that, David's hands traveled lower, exploring her thighs and tracing the outline of her curves. The thrill of his touch sent sparks of pleasure coursing through her, and Sarah couldn't help but respond, arching her back and pressing herself against him. "God, you're beautiful," he breathed, looking at her with a mix of desire and admiration. "I can't believe how lucky I am to be here with you." "I feel lucky too," she replied, her voice a sultry whisper as she leaned in for another kiss. Their lips moved together in perfect harmony, the world outside fading away as they embraced the intimacy they were creating. As the heat of the moment enveloped them, Sarah's hands slid down David's arms, feeling the strength and warmth of his body. She pulled him closer, encouraging him to explore further as her heart raced with anticipation. David responded by gently laying her back against the couch, his body hovering over hers as he kissed her passionately. The weight of him felt delicious, and Sarah reveled in the sensation of being so close to him, their bodies moving together in a rhythm that felt natural and right. As their kisses grew more urgent, David's hands explored every inch of Sarah's body, tracing her curves and igniting a fire within her. She felt herself surrender to the moment, lost in the warmth of his touch and the intensity of their connection. "Sarah," he murmured, pulling back slightly to look into her eyes. "Are you sure about this?" "I've never been more sure of anything in my life," she replied, her heart pounding with desire. With that, David leaned in again, capturing her lips in a heated kiss. Their bodies melded together, a beautiful dance of passion and longing as they lost themselves in each other. As they kissed, Sarah felt the thrill of his hands exploring her back, tracing the outline of her curves. She shivered as his fingers glided down to her thighs, igniting a fire that spread throughout her body. The heat between them was palpable, and Sarah couldn't help but respond, pressing her body against him as she reveled in the sensation. "Let's take this slow," David whispered, his lips brushing against hers. "I want to savor every moment with you." Sarah nodded, her heart racing at the thought. She wanted to explore this connection fully, to indulge in the passion that was blossoming between them. As they kissed again, Sarah's hands roamed over David's back, feeling the strength of his muscles beneath her fingertips. She wanted to explore every inch of him, to discover the depths of their connection. David responded to her touch, his hands sliding under her shirt, gently caressing her skin. Sarah gasped at the sensation, feeling the heat radiating from his fingertips. "Your skin is so soft," he murmured, his voice low and filled with desire. "I could get lost in you." Sarah felt a rush of excitement at his words. I want you to get lost in me, she replied, her voice sultry as she pulled him closer. With newfound urgency, David deepened the kiss, their lips moving together in perfect harmony as he explored her body with a delicate yet passionate touch. Sarah felt herself melting against him, lost in the warmth of his embrace. As the night wore on, they continued to explore each other, savoring every kiss and touch. The connection between them grew stronger, the bond they were creating becoming a beautiful tapestry of love and desire. Mia knew this was only the beginning of their journey together, and she was ready to embrace every moment, every touch, and every kiss that awaited them.